Hey there, every week I send out an email toward the end of the week giving you a tip or a pointer on personal growth, psychology, communication, and of course, relationships. If you want to receive that, go to relationshipschool.com/newsletter and make sure you're on my list so that I can send you these emails. I think they're awesome, high quality content coming your way. Thanks. Back to the show. Welcome back, Ellen.
Thanks for having me, Jayson.
Yeah. So you were just criticizing my feet, saying I need a pedicure.
Yes. Yes.
Really? I do need a pedicure.
You need to do something nice for your feet.
I love pedicures.
Yeah. I know.
I like how they look. I like the toenails painted. I like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. I know you enjoy it. I love it too. I don't go enough, nearly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like our daughter painting my nails, but she doesn't do the pedicure part.
Yeah. The important part, the scrubbing. That's the important part.
Well, and the clipping and the...
Oh, yeah. All the details.
Yeah, it's kind of intense.
She just does the paint. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here we are drinking our morning beverages.
Yeah.
And we wanted to talk about complacency in a long-term partnership.
Okay.
And why you might consider not doing that. And sort of agreeing explicitly, actually, to what I might judge as complacent or avoiding. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me set the context here. So I was talking to someone a while back, and we'll call this person Jake. And Jake was telling me about his marriage. And he was like, yeah, we're in a phase right now where my wife went through some challenges in the last year. There's COVID, and then there's work stress for her. Mm-hmm. They have 3 or 4 kids, I can't remember. And she was stressed out, and her work was demanding more and more of her. Mm-hmm. And she was getting kind of more and more stressed. And he was feeling more and more neglected. Mm-hmm. And so Jake tried to, advocate for himself, like, hey, first of all, I need sex, regularly, at least once a week. I want, connection and conversation. And she basically was like, look, and it was creating fights, and it was creating a lot of problems for them. Mm-hmm. So, apparently what happened was the wife said, look, we're okay. I'm not going anywhere. And can we just be in a period of, this is where we're at? Like, we're not perfect. We're not doing great. And I just need kind of space. And the more you come after me and want sex or connection, the more it adds to my stress. So can you not do that? And can we just agree that, like, we're good? Don't worry. I'm not having an affair. I'm not going to divorce you. Mm-hmm. Let's just be okay for now. This is a phase we're in. It's a difficult phase of life. And can this be okay? And so Jake felt like, oh, okay. Yeah, I think I can get on board with that. And they basically agreed that, to that sort of arrangement, where she's not really available. She's super stressed. He's not going to bug her anymore about connection. And he's just going to focus on his own individual work. He's going to do therapy or ayahuasca ceremonies or whatever the hell he's going to do. And Jake's reported that it's gotten better.
And did he elaborate on what's gotten better?
No.
Like, so what was your sense?
My sense was, because he backed off, like, there's no stress in the system.
They're not actively
fighting anymore. Mm-hmm. And so they're good. They're in an okay place. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to talk about this because this could be problematic for a number of reasons. Mm-hmm. And I just want to validate the stress of life. And of course, we go through phases, and we're not always going to be great. And so this is pretty common, that to be struggling and not know a path forward, and to find a path forward that involves less fighting can feel like a win. It's like, hey,
at least we're not fighting as much. So phew. And that is like, I think I want to point out what I like about this so far is that, they're living in a home with children, and they're fighting less. right? That's a good, that's an
victory,
improvement in the vibe for everybody.
Yeah.
However, there is a drawback to that, which we'll come to. And also that they at least overtly agreed to this together.
Right.
Like they kind of collaborated on a plan for an indefinite, like we need 6 months, a year to just like not tend to our relationship.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. And no one's leaving and no one's having an affair, and we're just like not nurturing or caring for our relationship right now. Okay, so at least they overtly agreed to that.
Yeah, so this is one step ahead of most people who just fall into these kind of dynamics.
Yeah, and never talk about it.
Very complacent and never talk about it, and then resentments build. So the advantage here is that there's going to be less resentments because they both agreed.
They both agreed, and it's like it's out on the table.
Yeah.
Because I've had numerous couples come to me, and basically one person agreed with themselves, like, okay, I'm just not going to ask for anything anymore. I'm not going to bring this up. I'm not going to talk to my partner about this thing that's important to me in our relationship because it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so they sort of stuff or bury or withdraw, and things like on the outside look like they're going better. Like the partners of these people are like, yeah, things are good. But the person who's stuffed something, buried something, neglected something true for them does not feel that way.
Yes.
And they end up in needing a lot of help. So I at least like that they did this together. Yeah. Okay. Now let's talk about the drawbacks.
Let's talk about what could potentially be problematic here. And I think the reason we want to challenge this approach is because we know if they turn a few different levers, more is possible here.
Totally. This is not the only option to get through a stressful time.
Yeah. So we're saying it could be even better, actually. Their agreements could be even better, which would net result both of them feeling more fulfilled.
Yeah.
And
more resilient under stress. Because that is what's going on. There's a lot of stress accumulating for this couple, and there's actually other ways to deal with that could have a lot of positive outcomes for just their physiological well-being, because stress is hard on the body. And anyway, there's a price being paid. Maybe it's their relationship, maybe it's someone's health, I don't know, but somewhere. So we're going to try to address that.
Yeah. So Ellen, what would you address first here?
Okay.
What could be?
Gosh, there's kind of so many things. Something that's standing out for me is, so the man in this situation came to his partner saying, like, he had some needs around connection and attentiveness, sex. And he was sort of met with like, look, I can't do any of that. It's overwhelming me. Can we agree to like not like, right?
Yeah. I don't know the particular details about sex. I got to acknowledge that I don't know if they're continuing to have sex in the midst of this or not. So that's fine. Knowing him a little bit, I'm guessing they are with some regularity. But it's on top of all this connection.
I just start having all these questions like, well, why is sex important to a couple, to them in particular? How is this, how are they really doing? Because I think that sex is not the most important thing here. It's obviously an important part of a relationship, but there's a way in which they're getting to, like, if I think about the woman in this situation, I can totally appreciate feeling overwhelmed and overextended, and like everyone needs a lot from you, and you're trying to like reduce some of that external stress. But it sounds like she's someone who is becoming maybe is comfortable being self-reliant.
Yeah, that'd be my guess.
And that's kind of her way through stress. I have a little bit of this. And it's like, you know what? I just got to focus on myself and get my shit done. And like anyone coming into my space is making me feel worse, or it's another demand. That's, what we want for a couple is for them to feel like, no, your partner coming into your space is a resource.
Yeah.
And so something's going on in the relationship where the relational needs are like feeling like another demand.
Yeah.
Versus a gift, something to receive, like something that can resource you.
Yeah.
And there might be something in the way he's coming to her about like, hey, I need stuff.
Yeah.
And which of course we all have relational needs, but he's somehow maybe they're not having a conversation about like, I mean, they sort of are now about the relationship. Like, we want space. We want to.
Let's table this.
Let's table everything.
We're good enough. Let's table it.
But ideally, they're looking out for their relational needs because she's underutilizing the support and care and nourishment of her partnership, which is we want people to have a caring, nourishing, inspiring, like resilience building kind of relationship. Yeah. And if the relationship feels just like another demand, to me, I'm like, okay, this is telling us something about the relationship that isn't working.
Yeah. They've done something, or their dynamic is such that fighting is bad. They don't know how to actually meet each other's needs and empathize with each other's needs and collaborate together around that. So, and it's been so frustrating that they've settled upon this, which is like, it's brought some temporary relief into the system. But I think Jake he's going to have there's going to be a timeline for him that he doesn't know yet, that he's going to reach a place where this is not working for him anymore. She might be able to go longer. So it's just like, okay, it's a good...
it's like a pause, maybe, in the fighting.
And just do it this way for a while.
It also doesn't allow for, what I'm thinking is like, it's not going to be like, it's not like all of a sudden there's going to be less stress in life. I mean, there's going to always be some degree of stress, right?
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden, wow, I feel so much less stressed to now I'm ready to reconnect and be in a intimate and connected and juicy connection relationship with you.
Yeah.
Like, we're here. We got here. Like, that's not what's going to happen.
No. Because they're not doing the active relational development work to get there.
And I think that's where people are in a fantasy that like they can sort of like, just give me a little more time and then I'll be able to do this stuff. And that's not how that works.
Yeah.
We have to be actively practicing connection and relational skills and attunement while kind of at the times when it's the hardest for us.
Yeah. Well, if we want that fulfilling, juicy connection,
if you want that, if you might not want that, which was fine. It's your choice.
And I don't know that this couple knows what's possible, so they're okay with this arrangement. And I just feel like it's like taking a little bit of a nap.
Yeah.
Because when they wake up from the nap, this agreement is over, the same issues are all going to be there.
Yes.
Maybe her career took a turn and she's less stressed. So that could be a positive thing.
It's
when
more
she wakes
stable.
Up from the nap.
She feels more like she has more.
Okay, now I can deal with my relationship. But we all know like life seems to get more stressful, not less stressful. Yeah. I don't know what. I just see this happen, and then pretty soon they're empty nesters, and they did this for 8 years straight.
I actually think too that for someone who's on the more avoidant side of things, it gets harder, not easier. Like the more space one gets if you're on the avoidance side, you're getting space, fine. Like it's harder over time. It gets harder to bridge these gaps.
Right.
Because
not easier.
It does not get easier. And so I think there's like a fallacy in the avoidance approach, which is like, if I just get some space, I'll calm down and then I'll be able to like come back and do this. No, they're going to calm down. Yes. With space and it's going to
give them the illusion
because they're like, I feel better.
Yeah.
But as soon as I come back into relationship with the person that's causing me stress, like it's all right there. Yeah. It hasn't gone anywhere. The challenge, the interpersonal challenge. And so that person they're not getting any stronger or more developed or more skilled at handling interpersonal stress.
Exactly. And meanwhile, they're also not getting better at empathizing with the partner whose needs seem to be louder. It's like, I wonder if in a month she's going to say, hey, how are you doing over there with this arrangement?
Right.
Hey, how are you? Like, I'm imagining this is really hard for you at times.
Because you're wanting something that you're not getting.
This is great.
She's getting everything she wants.
Yeah.
It's working for her.
I got all this space. I'm still married.
He's not. He's somehow making this work for him, but it's not his ideal scenario. And that's where it's not collaborative, honestly. It's like they at least talked about it. It's overt. It's an overt agreement, but it's not mutual. It's not collaborative. They didn't take into consideration his needs enough, I don't think, which is like, hey, I want space and you want more connection. And probably for the kind of relationship we want, you know, we have to consider both of us.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's like she's not seeing that actually connection could be resourcing and supportive during this stressful time versus another demand.
Hey, y'all. I hope you have ordered my new book by now, Getting to Zero, How to Work Through Conflict in Your High-Stakes Relationships. It's already getting dozens of 5-star reviews on Amazon. I've heard from a lot of you. Thank you for buying the book, buying it on Audible, buying it on Kindle. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. I think this book is going to help a lot of people. It's all about how do we get back to a good place after some kind of disconnection or rupture or conflict. That's what the entire book is about. And if you want a roadmap on how to get back to a good place, what I call zero, please order my book. GettingToZeroBook.com. Get you some extra goodies, a conflict quiz, some additional PDFs, etc. And you can order it in all the places and support your local bookstores. Cool. Thanks. Back to the show. What do you think she would need to do in her development to get there? What is she going to have to do to go, you know what, this arrangement probably isn't the best for either one of us?
I think a few things. One is that she'd have to recognize that she feels lonely. That underneath all of this, she feels alone. And that is painful.
Yeah.
Because she's in a stressful time in life. She's parenting. She's dealing with maybe career stress, financial stress, and she's doing it by herself. And that's not what partnership is supposed to be, a resource throughout life. So
you're saying deep down she feels alone and she's doing it on her own, even though in her mind she's made it up that this is easier. This is easier, and my husband and I are in this together. Well, she might make that argument. You're saying if she slowed down the workaholism and like the busyness, she'd get to some like, oh, this is actually, I'm terribly alone.
I would guess that underneath the sort of relief of getting to just focus on herself and her stress and getting tasks done, that underneath that, there's a sense of like, I'm alone. No one can really help me.
Yeah.
Other people just are more demands. They're not resources. I don't know how to utilize them.
Yeah.
And I'm moving through life and difficult things in life by myself. And that's the only way. Like, that's in there for an avoidant.
Yeah, for sure.
It's sad. It's painful. And it's very difficult to get in touch with that because for many reasons, but one is just like our culture is very supportive of independence and like doing things by yourself.
Yeah.
And so there's this, you can sort of feel strong and competent and avoid, and that can sort of override some of the loneliness. But if she does get to a point where she's like, wow, I feel really alone in this, in my life and in all I'm dealing with, if that starts to bother her, that could bring her forward into like, wait, I don't think this is good for me or us or you.
Yeah.
Because I know you're not getting what you want from this relationship. And I don't know how to bring that.
Totally.
But it can be hard to
unearth that.
Yeah.
And feel it. So on Jake's side, he would need to, he's agreed to override and sequester his relational needs. in service of preserving the marriage.
Yes.
And making his wife feel better. He's in some ways very considerate of him.
Yeah.
But he's left himself behind.
Yeah.
Because if he's honest and he slows down, he's going to be like, actually, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I'm constantly not being tracked. There's things going on in my life that she's not plugged into. My inner life is not really being noticed. I feel also totally alone. And if I feel all of this, it's going to fucking bother me. And I'm going to start feeling resentful and angry
that I'm getting
I've agreed to
scrapped,
this,
and that I'm getting
I'm
scraps.
getting crumbs. And maybe she'll make love with me once in a while, but it's not going to be as satisfying as if we were deeply connected and she noticed me and I felt really seen, and vice versa.
Right.
Or just like having a sex date because I need that.
Yeah, to appease.
Let's say she's meeting that sexual need of mine and I get relief. Some men are like, I just need sex once a week and then I feel like I'm whole or I feel like I'm great. And it's like, no, you need more than that.
Yeah.
It's a piece that's cool that you recognize there's something very cathartic and positive for you in terms of what sex does for you. But you need more than that in a long-term marriage. And I just want you to be noticed and tracked and the collaborative piece. And he might be going through, like, let's say he has a crisis. Is she going to suddenly show up for him? Or because of the arrangement, she's going to be like, look, man, I don't have time to deal with you.
Yeah.
You got to go to your friends or a therapist or someone else. And so now he goes to the coach or the therapist to get the support. And his wife's not even noticing. And then he's like getting support outside the marriage, which creates a further division in the marriage.
And it all just makes it can make it harder and harder to find your way back. And a lot of couples, something like this happens over time, and then their kids leave home and they're like, should we even be married? Like, are we even on the same page? Like, we've just sort of tabled our relationship, focused on raising kids and being a family, but we haven't been tending to our connection, our relationship really at all. It's been like majorly on the back burner, if even there.
Yeah.
And those people have kind of not only an empty nest crisis, but also a relationship crisis.
Yeah.
At that point.
So let's say you're relating here to this couple and you have agreed to some sort of mediocre arrangement or an arrangement that at the time felt right, but now that you're listening to this, you're like, oh yeah, I think they're on to me. This doesn't feel that good.
This isn't leading me where I ultimately want to go.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So what can you do if you're in this situation? And if you're Jake or his partner, you could advocate for yourself. You could say, Jake could say, you know what, honey, I know we agreed to X, Y, and Z, and I could start with empathy, and I know you're going through a lot and you're very stressed, and this is probably working pretty good for you. And I don't think it's working for me very well. And I ultimately don't think it's working for us.
So you did 3 things there. That was not just advocating for yourself.
Okay.
You were thinking about me and showing me that you have some understanding, care, consideration for me and where I'm at. You advocated for yourself and our relationship, which we would always say is going to be how you need to be thinking as a couple under any circumstance, about ourselves, about our partner, and about our relationship. We can't just think about ourselves. We can't just think about our partner. And most people aren't even thinking about their relationship. So it's all 3.
Standing for 3, as we say. So what could the woman say who's agreed to this if she's honest? She's like, oh, you know what? Yeah, they're probably right. What could she do?
Yeah, if she starts to recognize that this isn't going the way she hoped, or she starts to not like where this is going, she could say, hey, I know we made an arrangement together and I said I needed this time and space, and you've been very understanding of me needing that and wanting that, and you've been willing to work with me there and make it work for me. And I'm starting to feel like this isn't a good arrangement for us long term, and it's not even a good short-term arrangement, honestly. So I'm not sure what to do or how to proceed from here, but I don't think, even though this feels like comfortable for me, I don't know that it's good for me and good for my growth and for our relationship or you.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. And that would start to feel relieving. And then I might feel even really good to me to imagine what it's been like for me, that it's actually created some low grade stress. And I've had to, I'm the more anxious partner. And, I hope you can appreciate that this is starting to take a toll on me. You said it's not probably good for you. Even more specifics would help me feel even more acknowledged there. But you did the same thing. You're acknowledging yourself, you're acknowledging me, you're acknowledging the relationship.
Yeah. That's how we have to be thinking as partners.
Yeah. Yeah. And then lastly, we just, this couple could say, hey, I think there's more possible here. I don't think we have to settle for just okay. Yeah. I think we can have great, but it's going to require both of us collaborating and digging in and
maybe getting some outside support.
Yeah.
Like this would be a great time to get some outside support. Like, look, we're under a lot of stress and we don't really know how to stay connected through that stress. It feels like our only option is to disconnect, to deal with it. And that is not how it has to be.
Yeah.
That is not how it has to be.
Not at all.
And it's actually not how it should be in my mind. We're supposed to be able to resource each other and support each other and utilize each other. It's like another human being is an amazing resource.
Yeah. And just remember what got you there, what got you to explicitly or implicitly agree to have a just okay relationship. It's probably that you didn't know how to navigate conflict and repair and the challenges as a team. And so that's where you need to put attention.
Yeah.
Learning. How do we do this part of our relationship better so that we don't agree to be in separate parts of the house, living our own lives?
Live parallel lives. I mean, unless you're like, yeah, we like that, go do it. But if one of you, let alone both of you, is not loving it, then there's something to learn there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Hopefully this helps y'all listeners and Jake and his partner.
Yeah.